Hello friends, for today's video I wanted to look at some anticipated fantasy releases for the month of May. As always, I'll go in order of projected release date. These release dates are subject to change, but this is what they are currently listed as, and I'll have all this information in the description bar down below in case you'd like to reference back to it. Before jumping into it, a big thank you to Book of the Month for working with me on today's video. Book of the Month is an online book subscription service where you have 5 to 7 books to choose from every single month for an affordable price. They're always brand new, they're always hardcover, and they really emphasize both emerging authors and the authors that a lot of us are aware of. And because of the fact that their service is so curated and they have a staff and team of people that are reading through so many different books constantly, they're able to sift through a lot of it and bring to you the books that are going to be talked about within each genre. Another great thing is Book of the Month has since started an audiobook service as well. So each month you can put your credit either toward one of their hardbacks or you can pick up an audiobook. And you also have access to a catalog of audiobooks and a catalog of some of their hardbacks from previous months. For the month of April, I got 2 different books. One would be Just for the Summer. It's a rom-com possessing all the fun of a summer fling and the emotional richness of true love. I also got, in honor of this video, one of my anticipated releases, which would be the fantasy story Dragon Fruit. Hop aboard, we're embarking on a proper adventure with dragons, pirates, island myths, and epic second chances. If you're interested in checking Book of the Month out, you can get your first book for $5 with the code PASTEL. A big thank you to them again, and now on to our anticipated May releases. I'm really excited because I am finding that there's a couple different books that look adorable and that seem to be leaning in the cozy fantasy, if not just outright being cozy fantasy. And that's really exciting to me because I would expect most of those to be released more in the fall season because people typically associate cozy fantasy with more of that fall season, the fall vibes, the cozying up with a blanket, all of that kind of stuff. So to see it coming out at the end of spring leading into summer, that's great for me. I was not anticipating that, but I'm really very much looking forward to it. And that is true of the very first one on the list, which would be Can't Spell Treason Without T. And the cover looks adorable. This one's projected for the 7th. I believe The Broken Binding is also doing a special edition of this one, if I remember correctly. And if it is, I'll pop that up on the screen so that you can see theirs. I'm wondering if this was originally self-published because under the description it says, now with beautiful jade sprayed edges and brand new original art. I wouldn't think they would have put that if it was the first time it was printed. So it would seem maybe this was previously published. But it says, in the tradition of legends and lattes comes a cozy fantasy steeped in sapphic romance about one of the queen's private guards and a powerful mage who want to open a bookshop and live happily ever after if only the world would let them. And then it says, for the more specific synopsis, all Reyna and Cant want is to open a bookshop that serves tea, worn wooden floors, plants on every table, firelight drifting between the rafters, all complemented by love and good company. I want that too. Thing is, Reyna works as one of the queen's private guards, and Cant is the most powerful mage in existence. Leaving their lives isn't so easy. But after an assassin takes Reyna hostage, she decides she's thoroughly done risking her life for a self-centered queen. Meanwhile, Cant has been waiting for a chance to flee responsibility, all the better that her girlfriend is on board. Together they settle in Tawny, a town nestled in the icy tundra near Dragon Country, and open the shop of their dreams. What follows is a cozy tale of mishaps, mysteries, and a murderous queen throwing the realm's biggest temper tantrum. In a story brimming with hurt/comfort and quiet fireside conversations, these two women will discover just what they mean to each other and the world. It sounds so cute, like it's almost satirical how cute it sounds, where it almost seems like it's like making fun of cozy fantasy. I'm not saying it doesn't sound good. I think it sounds adorable. It's just hitting all of the cozy fantasy points, and I'm fine with it because I think it sounds really precious. I think the next one might be the only YA book on this list, and I'm excited for this one. It would be Spin of Fate. And it says, in a world inspired by karma, 3 teens encounter magnificent beasts, unforgiving magic, and epic battles in this propulsive and wholly original young adult fantasy, evocative of Sanderson Pullman and Full Metal Alchemist. Which a lot of you know, it's down there. I love Full Metal Alchemist so much. I mean, obviously I like a lot of Sanderson too. Anyway, yeah, at the same time, shockingly original. Says Rosaria Munda, author of Fireborn. And hey, I love Fireborn also. So I'm like, man, all of my, if you want to get my attention, it's like this, it feels like this was made for me. It said that if the sinful lowers commit themselves to kindness and charity, their souls will lighten, allowing them into peaceful upper realms. But Aina, one of the few lowers to ever ascend, just wants to go back home. Aina is desperate to reunite with her mother, hoping she's survived the beasts and wars of her homeland alone. After failing to weigh down her soul with petty crimes, Aina joins a rebel group defying the authorities and bringing aid to those condemned to a life of suffering in the lower realms. Before long, the rebels find themselves in the middle of a brewing war. On one side, a violent king of a lower realm is bent on destroying tyrannic law. On the other, the authorities of the upper realms will do anything to stay on top. Fans of epic, propulsive fantasies like Six of Crows and innovative world-building like Avatar: The Last Airbender will delight in this ambitious, unmissable debut. I got excited because I saw Six of Crows and Avatar: The Last Airbender, so I'm like, what the heck? I will say, it's exciting to see all those comp titles. It's also, I feel like marketing has to be careful having so many things plugged because you can set people up to have unrealistic expectations. So I'm trying to keep my expectations just normal and not be too excited, but it sounds great. Also, I have been watching through Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time ever over on my side channel, Full Meta Analysis. So if you love that series, if you're nostalgic for that series and you want to follow along with me, I'll have that channel linked. Next up, we have The Sword Unbound. This is the sequel to The Sword Defiant. And The Sword Defiant, because this is a sequel, I can't say too much about it, but I will say a little bit about The Sword Defiant, which is that it is a story that is looking at what happens to the heroes after. So if you have a group of people, that kind of stereotypical character type, you have the dwarf, you have the ranger type character, you have the elf, the beautiful, mysterious elf character. You have these character types. Once they've saved the world from evil, then what? And how is the fame that came from this and the heights of epicness that became their life at that time, once that's all gone, how do they define themselves? How do they deal with the trauma they experienced? How do they deal with the fact they feel so alone because the rest of the world just sees them as these heroes, but they're just ultimately people? So it explores all of that, and I think it explored it really, really well. I do think that those themes, I don't know that I needed a sequel because I thought the themes were explored so well in the first book, but the plot definitely leaves off in a place where you're kind of like, oh, okay. It's a little bit abrupt, and it opens itself up in its story to a sequel. And I can't say too much of what that is because that would be too revealing. But I like the first book. I think it's a little bit underhyped, and I think it is kind of slower going because it's not particularly plot heavy for most of it. But I think that those themes are going to be ones that a lot of people who love fantasy, who have loved fantasy for years, are going to appreciate this sort of nuanced take on the story we've seen before and the events that transpire after. And that one's projected also for the 7th. After that, another, I think, cozy fantasy says, I'm afraid you've got dragons. Dragons are common in the backwater kingdom of Belmontaine, coming in sizes from mouse-like vermin all the way up to castle-smashing monsters. Gaius Aurelius Constantine Heliogabalus Thrax, who would much rather people call him Robert, has recently inherited his deceased dad's job as a dragon catcher / exterminator, a career he detests with all his heart, in part because he likes dragons, feeling a kinship with them, but mainly because his dream has always been the impossible one of transcending his humble origin to someday become a princess valet. Needless to say, fate has something rather different in mind. So that's not a whole lot of a synopsis. You kind of gather his profession and that there will be dragons, but not much else. Also, though, the cover for this is so cute and so gorgeous. I really hope I like that one. It sounds precious. Next up, we have When Among Crows, and this is by Veronica Roth. I think most people associate Veronica Roth with her YA series, but she's done a lot of adult work since then. I've only read one, and I feel bad because the one I read I think was pretty universally thought of as just okay. I really liked the theme she was going for, but the book itself didn't end up working for me. However, I have heard really good things about a lot of her other adult works, and this one in particular Also sounds great. When Among Crows. Description. Story that draws from the deep well of Slavic folklore, and it asks if redemption and atonement can be found in embracing what we fear most. We bear the sword, and we bear the pain of the sword. Pain is Dimitri's calling. His family is one in a long line of hunters who sacrifice their souls to slay monsters. Now he's tasked with the deadly mission, find the legendary witch Baba Yaga. To reach her, Dimitri must ally with the ones he's sworn to kill. Pain is Alla's inheritance, a fear-eating Zmora with little left to lose. Alla wants death from the curse she carries. When Dimitri offers her a cure in exchange for her help, she has no choice but to agree. Together, they must fight against time and the wrath of the Chicago underworld, but Dimitri's secrets and his true motives may be the thing that actually destroys them. So, I gotta say, I was like, oh, that sounds really good. And then I saw Chicago underworld, and I was like, what? Am I the only one that was thrown off by that? I feel like I can't be. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know what we're gonna get with that, but it sounds cool. The cover is awesome. Again, man, cover designers, cover artists have just been doing such a good job these last few years. We've been very spoiled. Next up, we have Goddess of the River. And I am so excited for this one purely from the fact that I loved KKI by this author. And as soon as I saw there was another book in the works, I was very excited. It's not a sequel or anything like that. I think it's another standalone story. It sounds fantastic. It says it's a powerful reimagining of the story of Ganga, the goddess of the river, and her doomed mortal son. So I don't want to say too much more just because anytime there's reimaginings or retellings, I think there is kind of a blueprint that is being utilized and that we build from that, but it's not like this wholly original thing. So if you know the original story, then just know there's a reimagining of it. And then if you don't, but if you're somebody who typically likes retellings, but you're a little tired of Greek, Roman, Norse, you're like, I want something else, this is probably going to be the one. KKI, I highly recommend. I really liked the way the author handled the themes, and I thought it was incredibly transportive. I just thought it was great, so excited for this one. Next up, we have How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying, which already sounds like a lot of fun. It says, Groundhog Day meets Guardian of the Galaxy in Django Wexler's laugh-out-loud fantasy tale about a young woman who, tired of defending humanity from the Dark Lord, decides to become the Dark Lord herself. That, I don't even know if I need to read more because I feel like that sounds so good already. I'll read a little bit more though, just if you'd like that information. Takes the old saying, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em to the next level. A sarcastic, action-packed, intrigue-filled misadventure. One of the funniest books I've read in a long time. So that's a quote from another author. Davy has done this all before. She's tried to be the hero and take down the all-powerful Dark Lord. 100 times she's rallied humanity and made the final charge, but the time loop always gets her in the end. Sometimes she's killed quickly, sometimes it takes a while, but she's been defeated every time. This time, she's done being the hero and done being stuck in this endless time loop. If the Dark Lord always wins, then maybe that's who she needs to be. I'm not sure if her name is pronounced Davy or not, but it's Davy's turn to play on the winning side. That sounds so fun. It's kind of like, oh, never mind, I won't say what it reminds. It's like a silly version of a different well-known fantasy concept, a little bit. But I think it sounds so entertaining and so fun. I really hope it's a hit because it sounds like a good time. Next up, talk about beautiful covers. I know I was just talking about beautiful covers. The Fireborne Blade. Oh my gosh, this cover. I mean, it's got a dragon on it. So now I'm like, is it that I like these covers because they're gorgeous or because there's dragons? They're gorgeous also. The artists are great. But the Fireborne Blade, it says, kill the dragon, find the blade, reclaim her honor. It's that or end up like the countless knights before her as a puddle of gore and molten armor. Madeleine is a knight. There aren't many women in her line of work, and it often feels like the sneering and contempt from her peers is harder to stomach than the actual dragon slaying. But she's a knight and made of sterner stuff. A minor infraction forces her to redeem her honor in the most dramatic way possible, and she must retrieve the fabled Fireborn Blade from its keeper, legendary dragon, the White Lady, or die trying. If history tells us anything, it's that die trying is where to wager your coin. That is it for my anticipated releases for the month of May. I think so many of these sound so delightful, really cool. It seems like a great lineup. What are your anticipated releases for May? Of the ones I mentioned, is there one that really stands out to you? Are there a couple that stand out to you? Are you really excited about these? Thanks so much for watching though. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later.